Welcome to the podcast growth series. If you're ready to grow your audience, increase your downloads, and finally see your podcast gain the traction it deserves, this series is for you. Over the next 12 episodes, I'll guide you step by step through strategies to help you understand your audience, make your content more discoverable, and create episodes that listeners love to share. This isn't just a series for inspiration or fluff. It is designed to help you achieve real, tangible growth. Each episode is built on the last, giving you practical, actionable insights you can implement right away. By the end, you have a complete system for sustainable podcast growth, and you have achieved real progress towards the audience and impact you've always wanted. So grab your notebook and pen, and let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to episode 10 of the series. Today, we're going to talk about how to be very strategic when you are planning out your podcast episode so that at the end of the day, you have a binge-worthy podcast. So the goal today is to teach you how to plan content that stays relevant, searchable, and shareable over time so that one great episode can keep working for you for months or even years to come. So first things first is that I am a huge fan of evergreen content, especially for you if you are a content creator, if you are a coach, if you are a service provider. Chances are that you have content that always stays at the core of what the content is. Even if you are somebody who does Facebook ads, and Facebook ads are always changing, right? Like the back-end systems it's different, like literally every day. Or maybe you are an Instagram coach and the algorithm is always changing. There are things that you can talk about that are evergreen, that don't ever change. There are principles that are evergreen. So wherever you are on the scale, like you actually do talk about things that really truly are evergreen, or you are somebody who does deal with crazy algorithms that are constantly changing, you also have evergreen things that you talk about because there are things that you have figured out, that you have proven again and again. So focus on creating those evergreen content because, especially with SEO, and you know I'm a huge fan for SEO, that is going to give you so much advantage over other people who are just talking about a topic that's relevant today. Something that's relevant today, like especially in this world that everything changes so fast, like every 5 minutes there's something new coming out. You want to be able to be the voice of wisdom, kind of like an old oak tree, just full of wisdom and just with so much to say, so that is how you want to think of your content versus focusing on trend-based content. Now, listen, there are times where talking about a trend will serve you, but don't make that the core of what you're talking about. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about is actually going into what we talked about last month, which was data, right? So we need to make sure that we are creating content that is specifically designed to what people are loving. And how we know that is by looking at your data. Now, if you are newer to podcasting, you kind of have to go with your gut feeling, especially if you are new to business in general and you don't have much to go off of. You are going to have to go off of your instincts. But if you have been podcasting for more than 3 months, you already have more than enough data to go back and analyze and see what's working, what are the topics that are performing well, and do more of those because your people are telling you like, okay, this is what we like. So do more of what people like. For example, my top downloaded episodes are always podcast SEO. People love podcast SEO. So for me, you might feel like, oh my gosh, am I really going to talk about SEO one more time? But listen, people love when I talk about podcast SEO and podcast searchability and all of that stuff. So don't be afraid to even repeat yourself. Become known for that one thing, whatever that one thing is, and talk about it. But of course, we want to make sure that we're looking at the data and that we are using that for our advantage. Now, the next thing that you want to do is, as you're planning out your content, right? You know your data, you know what people are loving, you have a really good grasp on SEO, and you're sitting down to plan out your content. You want to make sure that you are referencing back past episodes or even future episodes so that you are encouraging people to stay on track with you. So for example, on this series, I'm in a way doing that because I always go back and listen to the beginning of the series, or in the next episode, this is what's happening. But even if I don't really mention it, like the series itself, it's designed to take you from point A to point B. I'm not deviating from that. So you know what to expect. You know that every episode builds upon each other, right? But I did this actually extremely well back when I was on maternity leave. And I started batching my podcast episodes on December 2023 because my baby was due in March 2024. And if you want to go back, scroll back and listen from December 2023 up until, I want to say, May of 2024, because that's how much content I batched. I was always sending you back to an episode, or I was letting you know what was coming up next week. Because you are planning out your content, right? You were being intentional about the content you're creating. You can keep people hooked in your content so that they know what to expect, and they can go back and listen to past episodes that you have done that have been super valuable. Because, also you don't want to sit here and talk for like 20, 30 minutes. If you can just refer people back to another episode that you have done. You want to become known for that one thing, but you also don't want to repeat yourself multiple times if you have already talked about that in a previous episode. So make sure that you are using that for your advantage. And a lot of times, the episodes that you're going to be sending people back to are episodes that are your top downloaded episodes anyway, because likely that could be those episodes that people are finding you from. So the point is, make sure that you're referring back to old content, and that you're actually giving life to that old piece of content, even more life, because one, it's evergreen, but two, you're telling people like, hey, listen, this is really super good. So the next strategy is for you to always plan ahead. So when you sit down to look at your data, don't just plan for 4 or 5 episodes for the upcoming month. Make sure that you're planning for more, because you always want to have an episode or 2 in your bank, just in case something happens, there's an emergency. You have something to pull from so that you're never skipping a beat, So always stay ahead of the curve by having an episode or 2 batched, saved, something that you can pull away from. And then an extra tip here, that if you want to be super extra, is making sure that every month you are recording 1 or 2 extra episodes that you put in your bank of evergreen, so that one day an emergency happens, you have a lot of episodes to pull from, So you never want to be in a situation where it's like, oh my gosh, it's time for me to publish an episode like an hour ago and I don't have anything. Like, never be in that situation. Always plan ahead and always have more. All right, my love. So I am super excited for you to dive into this month's homework. If you are not signed up to get those, make sure that you sign up, get into my list, and I'll leave the link for you down below. We're almost over, guys. Like, we have 2 more episodes in the series, and then that's it. Next month, I'm going to give you some extra strategies for visibility. And then the month after that, we're going to do an audit, and we're going to be planning your next 12 months. So we're here, we're doing it, we're focusing on it. And another thing that I want to say is that I highly recommend that you go back and listen to the series again from the beginning, because you have a different perspective now than you did when you first listened to those episodes. So always go back and refresh, because you're going to learn something new, I promise you. All right, my darling, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you again next month, right back here. Until then, come connect with me. I am on Instagram at JulianaBarbati_, and I'll see you then. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast growth series. Here's what to do next. Number 1, head over to julianabarbati.com/homework to grab your homework assignment for today's episode and start taking action on what you learned. Number 2, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next step in your podcast growth journey. And number 3, come back on the 1st of the month next month for the next episode in the series. Until then, stay focused, take action, and don't let distraction pull you away from building the podcast you have always envisioned. You've got this, and I'll see you next month.